Hey everyone, welcome back. We're in a new season of Struggle for Change. You're going to get a chance to hear real quick who each of us are, but we are really excited as we enter this new season to be doing more of the same, which is talking about struggles. But we're going to broaden it a little bit. We're going to go down some avenues and try some stuff out to keep it interesting for us and for you, our listeners. So it is January 2025. We are all about 2 weeks back into our lives after a much needed winter break in all of our different areas. Let me kick off. My name's Tracy. I'm in the San Jose area and I'm an IS manager in a school district, and I'm real excited to be here tonight.
Yeah, and I'm Emily, and I am in an indie district. I'm working for an independent online school, K through 12, and I do all things academic support, training, and I also do a lot of creative work on the side with music production and music and all those fun things. And I'm so happy to be jumping into a new season with these lovely people.
And hi, everybody. I'm Valerie. I am an elementary school principal in Southern California, and things have changed here and there since the last time you heard from me. Well, I was the tech coordinator before, and now I get to be elementary school principal. So the struggle's a little bit different, but the struggle continues on, right?
For sure.
So, Val, I believe that you're up and you have a topic for us that we're going to explore during our time together on our first episode of our new season. So, my dear, the floor is yours.
All right. So during COVID, we had talked a lot about teachers being flexible with their due dates, with, letting students turn things in late, being flexible and just really being human in all of this, right? For those of you who are in Southern California or anywhere around the world, really, you probably have heard that Southern California has gotten hit pretty badly with these crazy wildfires in the Palisades, in Altadena, and in some other areas as well. And so school was canceled for us on Wednesday through Friday because of the horrendous air quality. We had to notify all the parents, and school was canceled basically for quite a bit of Southern California, especially those of us in the Los Angeles area. And so since I was at home, and like many of us, I was doom scrolling because why not, right? I needed something to think about aside from the doom that is happening outside. So why not just doom scroll myself? And I came across in threads this really awesome man, the speech prof. So maybe you have heard of him, maybe you have not, but he's a pretty awesome dude. And he is a college professor. So because of the fires going on, he posted, quote, I sent out an announcement to my students this morning letting them know with the fires going on, obviously, don't worry about my assignments and to focus on their health and safety above all else and to worry about my class later. Next paragraph. One responded that another professor sent out an email this morning telling them that if the fires are impacting their ability to do their assignments, that they should consider dropping the course. Next paragraph. Capital WTF question mark. This has been viewed and liked by 26,000 people. It's been commented on by 1.4K people as of today, mid-January. It's been rethreaded 389 times and it's been sent out to people 224 times. So he's definitely getting a lot of traction in the information that he's posted. And while I am in complete agreement with this, I also teach at a college and I say that there is a deadline to the assignments that we have in class. But most of the students who I teach are in their first or second year of teaching, or they're in the teaching profession. So things happen and things are tough. So it's like, yes, in my syllabus, it does say you have a week to turn in your work. Otherwise, points would get docked. But really, if you turn in all of your assignments by the end of the semester, before the end of the semester, you're good. You will get full credit because we're really busy people. But it made me think about our own classrooms and our teachers and perhaps the way we may respond to people. Does it make it more of a burden on me when I have students who turn in work late that I have to go back and regrade? Not regrade, but I have to go back and make sure that I do grade the item. It does take a lot more time for me. Like I've carved out time to do this one thing and now I have to go and do more, right? But I'm also lucky in that my classes are pretty small. So I don't have to worry about that as much. Whereas if I am a typical college professor where I have hundreds of students, this may really become an issue. And so I feel like I'm struggling with the response that is provided, in that some of the students were like, yeah, that other professor should, bad words, bad words, bad words. Right? Because if the fires are impacting their ability to do their homework, it's like they may not have Wi-Fi, they may not have all these things. And it is a really stressful situation. So if it's in a time of really stressful situation and you don't know what's going on, would it be a better idea to drop the class so that you're not giving yourself worry on top of more worry? I feel like this professor is being very reasonable in making the suggestion, perhaps sounding very cold, but maybe it's just this idea like, why stress yourself even more when you don't know when you're going to be able to get back to it if you're really impacted by the fires, right? And then there's like the other kind side of Val that's like, oh, just, the semester started, but you can take an incomplete. It's okay. We're flexible. It's going to be more work on me, but, we're flexible. We can totally do this. We'll make it count for you. You try to do your very, very best. I don't know. Emily, Tracy, what are your thoughts about this?
Well, it's kind of an intense thread. Val just shared the link with us a minute ago, and I'm looking at all these responses, and like there's a ton of emotions and chairs being thrown in the comments. There's someone named author Kay Starling said that professor is giving Umbridge vibes, like from Matilda. I'm someone, I try to see all angles of, like, even if I don't agree or like fully understand where something's coming from, I like to try to like imagine being in someone's shoes or like coming from their perspective and being empathetic. I think that's a very important thing in any aspect of life. Sometimes some people have not had the opportunity to practice empathy, even if they don't realize it. But so all that said, I mean, I agree, Val, that like maybe in some situations this could be appropriate to say just as an honest piece of advice. But when you're putting something on a platform that's essentially like a billboard on the highway, and um not exactly using any kind of empathetic language, I have a hard time kind of aligning to the way that this information was like shared. But that's my honest opinion there. I don't disagree with like the fact that there's real boundaries and balances that people need to wrap their heads around it, especially in a moment of crisis. But to me, this feels too soon to be like, if you can't keep up with this, like, this might not be the best class for you. I mean, everybody is impacted with every class potentially. What do you think, Tracy?
Yeah, I mean, my heart is hurting a little bit because we're supposed to be student centered, including adults in the room. So we know that Los Angeles is on fire, and that's not inflated. I believe it's a safe statement. It's on fire. So not only are people being displaced, but places of business are closed. Schools have burned down. College campuses are probably empty. People are either being told to stay indoors or evacuate, but in none of that is there, I feel, this mindset of, well, I am just so gosh darn sorry to hear that you're in the middle of that fire, but maybe this is a good time to think about dropping my class, because it just doesn't permeate a lot of confidence for me that they are a student-centered faculty at the secondary level. And we could say we probably saw the same thing with schools. So in this scenario where a professor has chosen to have an opinion about coursework related to a natural disaster, I would suggest that I would get COVID, right? And I would not go to work for a week. My workplace would not fire me, nor would they tell me to look for another job. They would accommodate the fact that I was out sick. Now, they may not like it, and it may mean that others have to do a little bit more while I'm gone. It may mean that I have to do a little bit more when I get back. But I wonder if even some thoughtfulness could have gone on to this thread, suggesting that before you go down that road of, you might want to think about dropping, maybe something like, reach out to me, let's work something out. I can definitely grant you flexibility, Because I think if my house burns down, literally, and I have no house, that really college is going to take a back seat. Now, it may not take a back seat for a month. It might only take a back seat for a week. So is there room for all of us to be a little bit more accommodating in an era where we have people in crisis, which is what's going on in the LA area right now? Yeah, disappointed, I think is how I'm feeling about this concept. And we've seen it. We saw it when we went into COVID with people that were like, AP teachers, I'm really sorry to hear that, we're all in lockdown, but you sure are going to need to keep doing your work, with the reality of like, what? There's no school to go to. So where am I going to be doing my work? I have no district issued device. Where am I going to be doing my work? I'm in a home with 8 other children. Where am I going to be? You know what I mean? So I liken it much to that natural disaster. So that's my thinking on this. Is I believe it's rather short-sighted and reactive.
Yeah, and I want to clarify what I said. Like, to tag on, I just realized I think in the way I describe my opinion, I assumed that I forgot that this is the person that posted this is not the one that sent that email. They were just sharing it.
Mm-hmm.
But still, that it sounded like that email was directed at like an entire course group of students, like a big group. So either way, whether it's social media or like a large group email, I mean, it can be hurtful without realizing it when you, like Traci was saying, like when you have that lack of compassion.
Yeah. I hear you, and I'm just totally playing devil's advocate, right? Because
Go for it.
like I said, I am totally on the speech prof side in my own daily actions of don't worry about it. You can work on your assignments when you come back, when you're able to do this, when things slow down, right? But I am really thinking about this professor who sent out this message where if I am an anxious person by nature, and everybody is different, right? Everybody deals with stress differently. And if my house did burn down, or if my computer was in my house and it burned down, or, whatever it is where I no longer have my materials, or I don't have a house anymore, I don't have a place to study. It may be like I'm trying to gather my life back together, right? And having this course is just going to be that one more worry on my mind. Why would I not want to drop this course? You know what I mean? I'm just, it's a really extreme situation, right? And perhaps this, it's a thread post. So we don't see the email in front of us. We just get this shortened message that if the fires are impacting their ability to do your homework, they should consider dropping the course. And you really have to think about the real impact, right? Like I was impacted in that my house was really smoky and I had to go get air purifiers. I wasn't home for a day and a half, but I was able to bring my computer with me and go work at my parents' house, right? I had another place to go to. And so I was impacted, but would it impact my academics or did it impact my current job? It didn't. But if I were, say, in Altadena or just 2 blocks up where I did have to be evacuated and worry about my house being burned down and worry about all these other things, I probably would not be in the best mindset to do any of this work, given that mindset would be temporary for a few days before I'm able to go home. But if I am like my colleagues whose houses have burned down, they're not returning back to work right now. They're probably you know and I'm trying to think of these colleagues who have requested for the next month or so to not be at work so that they can make things normal for their kids. They can try to find clothing, try to find housing, try to find all of these things. And given these are college age students, so maybe hopefully they have a family they can go back to, right? Or a family house that they could go back to. We don't know anybody's situations. So my
Yeah,
thought is just why would I create extra stress for myself? I don't know.
right. And to counter, devil's advocate to your devil's advocate, I'm going to top your devil's advocate with if. So if you are so stressed that you can't even think about your schoolwork, one could say that you are absolutely so stressed that you are not in a good mindset to make a decision to drop a class. Because what happens when I drop the class? Well, shit. The whole plan is out the door, right? as we know, because we're all college educated, we all went through, it took me 7 years to do my bachelor's. If I had been on the 4-year parent plan, get that shit done, the minute you're done in 4 years, regardless of whether you graduated or not, you're out. There will be no financial support. This is as much as we're willing to do. Then that decision to drop has ongoing consequences, right? So again, I mean, just going back to the mindset, because I imagine we'll see one of 5 scenarios with all of our classrooms, all of our college campuses, which are some professors will allow for flexibility, others will be hard and fast. You know, will they look for emergency options like we saw with LA Unified, where they went out and they got approval with executive orders from the governor to not have to go through certain steps? You know what I mean? And we're so early in the semester for our college courses that if I miss a week, so what? I think a lot of us would miss a week and still be able to recover. So I guess I'm still just on my of the opinion on my high horse that I expect more from educators.
Yeah, and like there are kind of vessels and avenues to take depending on the type of communication, and I just feel like, I mean, maybe the university or the college did send out a communication, but I feel like with a statement like that, that it just feels inappropriate for just like one instructor to say, especially something that might be impacting a bunch of students. I think it would have just might maybe feel a little nicer to read if you hear it from kind of the collective college. That's all. But yeah, it
Yeah.
happened, and
Yeah.
we don't know the instructor, and we don't know what they were going through, and maybe maybe they were trying to be helpful and try to offer like a quick piece of advice. But I mean, one thing that I find helpful with social media is if you can kind of get a sense of a collective feeling. And when so many people are like, man, I went through a horrible time when both my parents died and I was in a car accident, and my professors were still like a little bit more accommodating, that tells you something about human language. And
Yeah. It is. And you kind of see, I feel like the comment section is very much divided, like three-fourths and one-fourth, right? Three-fourths of the people are like, yes, WTF, there was no sympathy, and I would have really appreciated sympathy because some professors demonstrated it and some didn't. And to those professors who didn't, like, screw you. And then there are some who are like, this is reality, this is real life, and sometimes there are deadlines. And when you're not able to meet a deadline, you're not able to meet a deadline. Like when you don't file your taxes on time and you didn't file for that extension, you're most likely going to get fined when they find you, right? Or when you miss out on a scholarship application because you missed a deadline. It's not very often that you can write and be like, hi, I missed a deadline. I am late. Can I still turn this in? They'd be like, sorry, denied. But then again, it depends on the type of scholarship it is, right? But they're just like, a lot of the times there isn't that flexibility in real life. So are we as educators not preparing our students then for this inflexibility, right? Like, how a lot of college professors are saying that our high school students going into college are really soft and they're not able to handle the pressure they used to be able to handle. And because we've been too flexible in K-12 education, we've been too lofty with them, we've been giving them A's when they really shouldn't be getting A's, right? And I'm just like, I don't know. I'm all about like love and cuddles and providing them that comforting support. But is there some truth to this, that we are not preparing them for this real life thing where there are where there are hard deadlines, and they're just like, can't have this hard deadline, it's just not going to work for me.
Well, a hard deadline, Val, is one thing, right? It's one thing, but when you're literally trying to type that paper and you are on fire. I mean, I'm not suggestively on fire. I'm literally on fire. One would think in these scenarios, which have become the way that we now live. We tell our young people, and this is where I'll be aged, but we tell our young people, don't worry about the fact that there are now concerns over guns on campus. Just meet that deadline. It's okay. Don't worry about the fact that there are natural disasters. We still need to move forward somehow. I believe our young people, as soft as we may have been with them, they're super hard around the edges because of the life they live every day, right? Especially in this country. So I just feel like, dear professor, I regret to inform you that I need an extension on some of my assignments due to the fact that I'm in the LA area, like you are, and I am in an area where I've been impacted. I hope to be back online within a day or two. I hope you understand. I mean, that is the email that a student can send to a professor, or a middle school student can send to a teacher, right, when there's something coming up. And then I would hope in turn the professor would respond, or the teacher would respond in kind with, professionalism and thoughtfulness.
And lots of empathy, right?
Lots of love and cuddles.
Yeah. Well, and remember that like these same students that are the college level or college age are pretty much, they've gone through COVID as students.
Mhm.
They've gone through all these like different world crises. And I think as part of practicing empathy, we also need to I don't know, like is there space to have more empathy in the corporate world, in like industry that, maybe in another decade at another time it was a different there were different needs, there were different things happening, there were different expectations, like just as a whole. And I think we need to look at the big picture of, okay, what is preparing students for college or preparing students for the workforce like mean today? What do we want it to look like in 10 years? It doesn't necessarily, I don't think, mean that we need to, make everything lax and like give everyone all these like this extra slack for everything. But I feel very strongly that we can show and model to these students or to these younger people that like, I understand what you've been through. Let me help you be prepared for success, whatever that means. And even outside of education, we need to understand what other people are going through. It doesn't mean that we have to like, embrace all of their emotion. We're not responsible for other people's emotion or like the feelings and the things that they're going through. However, if we automatically kind of block out what people call softer like skills, or and just decide, oh, I'm just going to be a hard ass like because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can,
sure.
we're not allowing the story to come to the surface. Like there's a story behind everything. And
I
yeah.
totally agree. And Tracy, I love the example you gave of writing an email like, Dear Professor, I am impacted by this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? I found that I become even more fuzzy. I get an email that says, hey, like a properly written email, right? From my student that's like, hey, Dr. Sun, I'm not able to come to class today because of X, Y, and Z. How can I make up the work? Or I know I need an extension on this item because, I haven't
Yeah,
been
they're
to a
like
school.
respectful.
They're respectful. And that is a very different thing. I've also gotten emails that's like, yo, Valerie, can't make it to class today. See you next time.
Thought you weren't going to bring that one up, Val. Darn it! I'll be more formal moving forward.
And that's like two very different takes, right? And it definitely has a different impact. I mean, I still give the same response. I hope you're okay. The proper way to, and me being me, I'm like, the proper way to write an email to your professor would be da, 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 because I'm like, I'm going to make this into a learning experience, right?
Yeah.
It's a learning moment where it's like, I don't mind you writing to me like this. Nevertheless, I feel like we have created this relationship in our class together that I'm so glad you're so comfortable in talking to me this way. I don't know if you have the same comfort or if you established the same relationship with the other professors you have in your classroom or in your program, right? To write this way. here is a here's a more professional way to write this email to address this issue that you have. And we don't know if this other professor who emailed them about the impact, right? If he would be, I don't know why I'm just assuming it's a he. Bad on me, right? It could be a she, who knows? But if this professor would become more of a softie if they did receive an email that was like, I am impacted for this week. Next week, I will be on track, right? If things would change that way, but then maybe that isn't quote unquote real impact. I don't know. Maybe I'm just giving this random person way too much credit because I want to see the best in people. I don't know.
Well, sometimes we want to meet the devil's advocate, you know.
Well, I was just going to say, we absolutely want to think about the way in which we behave in a crisis. Of course, we don't always arrive as our best selves,
Mhm.
but how can we maintain some sanity, some professionalism? And then when we do make these decisions, whether it be a district post, whether it's in a canvas at a community college, whether it's done on social media because that's where your students reside, or you're just doing a big statement, for the world. I do agree with Emily that there is a great opportunity to be our better selves in all of those scenarios. Like daily operations, nothing's on fire. It's a regular Tuesday. Of course, you should go to class. You should go to class on a regular Tuesday, everyone. Of course, if you're sick, you should let your professor or teacher know. That's good etiquette. That's good communication. But I think when there's a crisis, when there's a natural disaster, like as you guys were talking, I was thinking about, well, during the floods, when that was happening in the Midwest, we were in the same scenario, right? Like my house is underwater, therefore I can't get to my laptop to send you the email to let you know that I'm going down my street on a raft right now. But let me tell you that I will get to you and I will be back in class in a week once I've landed. Can I have some flexibility? That kind of thing, I think is, and I don't want to suggest I'm putting it on our students. I'm definitely not. There's just so many different ways that this could have been conveyed, and maybe it didn't need to be on social media. But we just gave this concept of speech professor, peace out. We gave you our first Struggle for Change episode of our new season because we thought it was an interesting topic to explore.
Yeah, and so if you want to check out that thread or follow that speech prof, you can totally do that. This seems like a controversial but also healthy little conversation thread. So,
And he's just an interesting man in general. He posts regularly about different things, about his observations, about just things going on. So check him out. I did not reach out to him to let him know that we were talking about this, but maybe we will afterward.
yeah, we might want to. We'll tie those loose ends.
So thank you very much, Speech Prof, for giving us some thoughts to add to our very first episode as we come back for this brand new season.
Exciting! And thank you, Val, for bringing this up for convo today. This was like eye-opening in different ways, and just a nice reminder of the importance of words and empathy.
Ooh,
And
word of the day is empathy.
word of the day is empathy and perspective.
I feel like
So,
that's been, sorry. I just feel like empathy has been word of the year ever since COVID. It's like, it's just, you're practicing empathy, right?
and are you getting empathy responses from those around you? Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good topic, especially right now because, as we know, so many of our friends and loved ones are struggling, like Val down in the LA area. So, listeners, we hope you enjoy the new format. We hope you join us for more episodes. And we're really looking forward to exploring. We talked in planning this season about looking for posts that we find interesting, articles. There's just going to be no shortage of material from January 2025 for the whole next season. So if anything, we'll probably have to lower our standards around what we want to talk about because there's just going to be a lot connected to education, connected to leadership and just trying to be a better person in the world.
Yeah, and for those of us that want to follow our season 4 episodes and past seasons, subscribe to Struggle for Change podcast on your favorite platform. You can also visit struggleforchange.com. We are always welcome to any feedback, any things that you might want to talk to us about on an episode. We want to hear what's going on in your life and talk about the struggle you might be facing.
And we're just here continuing to struggle ourselves. None of us lead perfect lives as much as we would love to, but it's the struggles that makes the sweet spot sweet, right? And it makes us really enjoy the journey that we're on. So thanks for being with us today. And I loved sharing this time with you, Emily and Traci. Thank you so much.
See you next time.
Take care, everybody.